Hey, it's Ron Pollock, and this week we talk about one of my favorite topics, so I want you to stay tuned and understand while you're watching this that we always give free insurance reviews to make sure you stay protected. Stay tuned for a great FAQ Friday. Hey everybody, Ron Pollock with Fighting for People Injury Law. Welcome to FAQ Friday. This week, I really want to tell you a story that's very important to me because it actually happened to me and my son, and when it occurred, I was absolutely shocked. I've heard the stories from my clients, I've always believed them, but I didn't realize it was as bad as they actually led me to believe it was and how they were misled completely. And we're talking about auto insurance today because what happens is insurance adjusters, or more importantly, insurance agents, when you buy your insurance, tell you that you're buying full coverage. And that's the words they use, full coverage, and yet in reality, that's BS. This is exactly what happened to my son. My son, with work, just moved out to Chicago a couple of weeks ago, and he bought a new car for work, and he was moving to Chicago. So he said, Dad, get on the phone with me when I talk to the insurance agent so I know I'm getting the right coverage. I said, no problem. They started asking a lot of questions about his age, where he was moving, living, what kind of things he was going to use for the car, etc. Next thing you know, she says, great, Mr. Pollock, you've got full coverage. I'm going to send you the policy. There's forms for you to sign. And I literally was like, whoa, 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 what, strike that. Hold on a second. What do you mean full coverage? Tell me what coverage he has. You didn't even tell him the coverage. And what turned out to be what they're representing was full coverage was actually minimum coverage. What they're saying is full coverage is realistically just allowing you to comply with the state minimum requirements. That's it. Nothing more. My son not only wasn't protected, he would have been in a really bad situation if, God forbid, he got involved in an accident. Wouldn't have properly taken care of stuff with his car. He would have had horrible deductibles as it related to the collision and comprehensive. He wouldn't have been protected if he was injured and the guy who hit him wasn't insured. All that stuff was not even part of this coverage. So when you see these commercials on TV, and I'm not going to mention any names, that talk about you only pay for what you buy, you got to be really careful. Full coverage is not always proper protection. It's the state minimum. So let's talk about that for a minute. We're going to talk about state minimums and go over that, okay? First of all, Pennsylvania. If you live in Pennsylvania, these are the state minimums. There's also very close to this with regards to New Jersey as well. It's very similar, okay? What they're calling full coverage is actually minimum coverage. You're required to have bodily injury coverage. You're at $15,000, $30,000. That means if you cause an accident and hurt somebody else, you're protected, that they are entitled to $15,000 for their injuries. But what happens if the case is worth more than $15,000? They're going to go after potentially your personal assets. Very basic, very minimal. Property damage. Minimum is $5,000. That's it. How many people know cars, especially newer cars, that are worth only $5,000? Again, if you hit somebody who's in a nice car and they've got more than $5,000 of property damage, who are they going to go after for the difference? You, not your insurance company. First party benefits, also known as PIP, that's personal injury protection, that's your medical coverage. Again, minimum is only $5,000, and yet people have tens of thousands of dollars of medical bills when they're involved in an accident. And then they give you limited tort, which means you give up your right to sue for pain and suffering type damages unless you're very seriously injured. Even if you suffer a fracture, that's not enough. I can have long lectures about all these different coverages and what they are. And in fact, in the future, I'm going to do FAQ Fridays about each of the individual ones so that you can understand them. But this is really what you're getting. Pennsylvania also requires UM or UIM. But when they say you have full coverage, they send you a form to sign where you actually give that up and waive it. Never do that because this is the coverage that protects yourself. So what are the optional coverages that you always have to think about and talk about? Again, I'm not going to get into detail on these other than to give a brief explanation sometimes, but these are the coverages. Look at that list. This is what they're telling you is full coverage, and it doesn't include any of this stuff. Increased limits. Instead of that $15,000, you can increase your limits all the way up to $500,000. Uninsured motorist, which means if somebody hits you and they caused the accident and had no insurance, you're protecting yourself. Underinsured motorist, if the person doesn't have enough insurance to properly protect you. You can do what's called stacking. If you have more than one vehicle, you can layer your coverages on top, and it's not very expensive to literally double, triple, quadruple your coverages. Full tort, which means regardless of whether or not you suffer a serious injury, you're entitled to be compensated. I always recommend this as the coverage that you should accept. Collision, which means If you are involved in an accident, your car and the property damage to your vehicle is protected. Comprehensive protects the occupant's possessions inside the vehicle. If you have a computer that gets damaged inside your car, also if your car gets broken into and things are stolen, that's comprehensive. You can get income loss on your auto policy to protect you. Rental car and towing coverages, that's optional. That's not a standard coverage. You have to ask for that or they don't always give it to you. Funeral benefits, if God forbid there be a death. Gap coverage, really important. People don't ever think about gap coverage. Gap coverage is you take out a loan on the car or you lease a vehicle and it's totaled. Now you have to pay whoever you took that loan from the full amount that you still owe, but the minute you drive off that lot, that car just depreciated. So what if you owe $25,000 on your loan still for the car, but you're only going to get for the value from fair market value from the insurance company, $21,000. Who owes the other $4,000? You do. Gap coverage protects you. They'll pay the $4,000. It's not very expensive. Death benefits are also involved. Extraordinary medical benefits. You can get medical coverage up to $100,000, very reasonably priced with no deductibles, no copays, no networks, whatever you need. Extraordinary medical benefit is if you have between $100,000 or $1 million in coverage. Again, you're protected. Don't always rely on your private health insurance. There's high deductibles, high copays. Sometimes you max out on your private health insurance if there's $1 million in bills. So these are different optional coverages. One of the things I always recommend is actually going onto the Pennsylvania government site and get yourself one of the automobile insurance guides. You can get one for free, download it or look at it online at www.insurance.pa.gov/documents/auto_guide.pdf. This actually is a good little tool to help you understand what each of the coverages are. I hope you had a great day. I hope you have a safe week. We're going to talk about this kind of stuff a lot more, but break it down. We'll talk to you again soon. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that FAQ Friday. And always remember, if you've been involved in an accident or if you have any questions about insurance or any other area of the law, call us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 215-396-9660 or 1-800-5494-LAW. You can send me an email at my personal email page, rspollock@fightingforpeople.com. You can also follow my firm's Facebook page at Fighting for People Injury Law. Also the website, www.fightingforpeople.com. And if you need to follow me or want to follow me on my personal Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, it's Ronald S. Pollock. Have a great week, a safe week, and we'll talk to you again soon.